Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we are still doing the Derek DLC. We did part 7 a few days ago, I think it was. Yeah. Before we get started, I'm not sure if I said this or not, but I want to thank 262 subscribers for subscribing to my channel. All my new subscribers and my old subscribers. I appreciate your support. If you can, show your support even more to the community of charities that need the funds. Please go to my Patreon account and become a Patreon contributing member. All the funds go directly to charity. I don't see a penny of it. It just goes directly to the charity that I choose from. Worthy charity, of course. So, and you can find the link to my Patreon within the description area just below the video. So, hopefully we can get started on this. Let's see. Okay. Load. This is where we left off right here. Okay. Get a drink here. Yeah. Sure, still recording. Yes, we're still recording. Crushed into the cushion, you were exactly where you started your virtual exploits last night. On and off, white couch with Derek. You and him were very nearly nose to nose, limbs tucked around one another in a cuddly embrace.
Morning.
Morning, Chippy. Looks very handsome in this one. Yeah, there we go. I don't know if we have any music coming in here. I don't know. Oh, I know why. Alright, now we're back to regular volume. Let's see if this works. It's weird. Well, just in case, I'll turn it down to that because I have no idea if the music's coming on or not. So, let's go back to this. He sounded awfully cheery. There was far more life in it than anyone who had just been unconscious moments before would have. He'd already been awake. You'd bet. Let's see. I'm going to go with this one right here. But you were content to be snuggled up with Derek. You let out a blissful sigh, and Derek still made no move to get up. Relaxation was being in your partner's arms. You were in agreement on that point, and could enjoy this for a little longer. Derek let out a low chuckle, his chest rumbling. Sorry about the less than ideal location. I didn't want to risk waking you up by moving you to a bed. Well, that's a good thing. I guess you didn't. I mean, you could have moved. Well, you could have moved us into your room, his room. No, don't apologize. I appreciate it. I was so tired last night. That's what I needed. Excuse me. Oh, perfect. Derek smoothly pulled his arms around you tighter, embracing you deliberately. It was totally a move. In the back of your brain, you were amazed this was actually happening. Sometimes it felt as if you and Derek were decimated to destined to be apart. The way he held you with no plans of stopping erased those worries for good. Derek was incredibly warm in personality and as a pillow. And in that position, you caught a smearly warming fragrance that clung to his skin. He was not one for intentionally perfuming himself, but the gentle, nutty scent about him had you guessing that Derek used shea butter lotion. You know, having a sleepover in the living room as grown-ups definitely has one perk over doing it as kids. Said perk was interrupted by the sound of a ringing telephone. Derek's eyes widened in the intent and he shifted to reach his phone on the coffee table. He checked the cellular ID and a disbelieving smirk crossed his face. His voice was a whisper. No way. You couldn't guess whose mere call would get that reaction. He slid his finger across the screen and tapped the speaker button casually. He leaned back into the couch and stretched out an arm. There we go. From the fond twist of his lips, you knew this at least had to be someone close to him. Hey, Nico. Oh, it's his brother, Nicholas. Morning, bro. I'm also here. Chippy, you're actually the one I wanted to talk to. I just called Derek so I wouldn't bother you if you were still sleeping. No, apparently we're awake. Oh, and I don't need my sleep. Dude, You're the most morning person to have early rose. Nicholas Suarez really did not know Cove Holden. That was one competition. Cove took the gold in every time. You get up so early, a night owl could give you a high five in their way to bed. You'll hit the gym before. The Sun stand up routine broadcast to Derek's living room was cut off permanently. Nico definitely could have kept going. Okay, we heard the first. We heard you the first time. Hey, you asked for it. Derek pointing a judgment finger towards the phone. The only thing he said was quietly to you. This kid. He lifted his voice up, not to let the conversation drag. So, what's up? What do you think? Chippy is leaving soon, isn't he? So, when will you come over to see me? Now? Soon? Derek theatrically rolled his eyes, unwarily laughing at Nico's eagerness. You got to talk about it, and I mean me and Chippy, not me and you. Chippy is here already. Sorry, Nico. You're gonna have to share. We'll sort it out, and I'll let you know. All right. See you later. Yeah, I promise. We will definitely see you. Bye, Chippy. Derek pressed the red button on his phone's screen and ended the call. Nico's gesture really was sweet. It might have been years since you last babysat him, but you still held a special attachment for him that you didn't for any other team. Derek let out another long sigh, still holding the phone in the air. He looked up at the device as if it was a magic wand. I should have figured. Oh, Derek? What were you going to say before he called? Derek shook his head with a wavering expression. I was about to say that with my own place, we didn't have to worry about little brothers interrupting our peaceful morning together. Technology, technological logic has proven me wrong. Well, you could have took. I mean, you could have put your phone on vibrators. Turn the ring off. Then we could just ignore it, and they could just leave a message. You started, Nicholas didn't ever need to call a psychic. The timing was pro prophetic. I think that's the word. Speak of the devil, right? He must have called as soon as he dragged himself out of bed. Probably. Typical Nico. He shrugged a single shoulder, then reached down to place his phone on the table again. We can still take it easy though. You should take it easy as possible before a stressful trip. He nuzzled his cheek into yours. You could feel his breath tickle your skin. Aw. I'm gonna take a shower and everything. Then we should have breakfast. Oh, I should join you. His brows lifted and his face darkened, clearly intrigued. I'm not sure that means that what I'm thinking it means. Yes, we take a shower together. That's what it means. No, I think we're on the same page. Sorry, there's not enough room. What, small shower? That's a bummer. His tone was disappointed, if frustrated that his tiny city apartment bathroom wasn't meant for two. Okay, I'll use the other one. You could at least take with you the memory of Derek's charming face. Derek lifted you up with him as he shifted into a sitting position. He could get out from under another person with ease, but Jim had done him well. He smooched your cheek, still keeping you elevated, before gently putting you back on the cushion with one more tight squeeze. The whole experience made you giddy. See you soon. With that, he headed off to the back of the apartment. You skipped to your room to begin your normal morning routine after a practically not normal start to the day. Derek's instance on playing in pajamas had certainly worked out in ways you hadn't foreseen. Maybe he'd had a inkling of it. With two game-loving brothers in, it was possible he had practiced dozing off on the controller before. While changing your regal clothes, your phone buzzed with a text from your sister. Liz was giving you the heads up that she was going to pop in to see some friends in the afternoon while she had the chance, but she'd be there to see you off before the end of the day. You typed a quick message letting her know that that was cool and sent it. When you finish your morning ritual, you return out to the main area of the apartment. Finished with his own daily prep, Derek had made his way back onto the couch. He couldn't stay away for long. Welcome back. Thank you. Hunger had become a third wheel to your party by that point, and you got to work to send it on its way. You and Derek threw something together and had a relaxed meal. It was all good. The two of you could pretend that this wasn't the last time you'd be waking up together for who knew how long. I heard from Liz she's busy this afternoon, but says she's going to see us later on. He nodded along, not looking shocked. Liz grew up in the area too. She had plenty of roots to water in that land. Speaking of people to see, my family's coming over here today, so is Liz. But we've got to ask your mom still. They're going to want to say bye, I bet. Let's see. Can Mr. Holton come too? For sure. Thanks for letting them visit. I'll text them. Of course. It's going to be so cool to open my own place to the grown-ups after being their guests a million times. And I love having you here with me. It's like we're living together for real, permanently, as if you weren't just a guest. Too bad it's gotta end. All morning he'd appeared giddy, excited by your presence. That light still shone through, but avertly your eyes from reality wasn't a foolproof strategy. He'd accidentally broken the illusion. He pressed his lips together tight and his brows pulled up intensely. Today's gotta be big. It's the last chance. We should do something you couldn't do anywhere else. You braced yourself for the coming conclusion and then smiled. I like the way you think. We should come up with something. Let's end the trip on a high note. Wait. He pumped his fist in a triumph at his sudden inspiration. You know what we could do? Derek let you no space to guess and blurted out exactly what he was thinking. Go to the boardwalk. The volume of his explanation got louder as his excitement grew. Sure. It's even further away than the water park, and we probably have to leave after only an hour, but we could make it and then we'll have at least been there. No one could stop us, and we don't need someone's permission. Do you want to go? His pure eyes shone with hopes and dreams. Are you kidding? We gotta go. Could you run out the door? Could you run out the door now? It can't be too early. Yes, let's do it. He was halfway jumping to his feet before realized he was. Oh, as soon as we finished our food, obviously. That did not seem obvious to Derek until a second ago. Yeah, we'll need the energy. Very true. You both finish every bite of your breakfast, although you could tell that Derek was rushing. You placed your dishes in the sink after Derek's. Just leave them. I'll wash them later. You didn't commit on the slightly out of character action and instead started putting together needed to for the trip. What you needed for the trip. Yes, excuse me. After you had packed up some supplies, you headed out to the car. During the drive, Derek's brain was in sharp focus. We should make sure everyone knows that the get together will be for dinner, a late, a latish dinner. I'll leave it to you if you want to tell the gang about our plans for the day or keep it a secret. I didn't know if you want to deal with everyone asking why they weren't invited, but they are a lot more grown up than they used to be. Sometimes I forget that. Hmm. Are you kidding? Yeah, let's go to the last one. It's our secret. He put a finger to his lips. I won't say a word. You can't tell everyone everything all the time. After a very long ride, some struggles with parking, Derek had to resort to cycling like a vulture until a spot opened up. You and Derek were strolling under a wide blue sky into a bustling boardwalk. The boardwalk amusement park was as as dizzying and dazzling as it was 10 years ago. Music was playing from the storefronts, screams blurred out the park peaks, the coaster, and crowds of people were laughing and talking from all sides. You knew as soon as the scent of the sea and fried food struck your senses that this was the right call for your last stop on your trip with Derek. At your side, Derek spoke soft and sentimental. You made it. It's been a long time coming. He didn't say more, though. You felt his knuckles brush against your arm in prayer. You took Dare's hand. It slipped into his naturally. Now you wouldn't get lost and would be much happier together. You stepped further down the path. For a place that felt so alive, it was almost uncanny how little had changed over the years. The bike rental store was there, though they also offered shiny new electric scooters. Okay. There were still vibrant stalls offering a variety of fair foods, and the two big rides, the roller coaster and the Ferris wheel, continued to tower above the bustling crowds. You were sure one difference without needing to see it. The face painting counter would have a total stranger running it. Xavier had moved on to uh, decorating cakes rather than children's cheeks. Still being there was a time machine to a summer long gone. You and Derek were two teens once again. He got your attention with enough boyish excitement to confirm it. What do you want to do while we can? We'll have to leave pretty early to make it back to the farewell dinner. But we can ride rides, grab a treat, browse some stores, or hell, we could rent our own bikes if you want. You were pulled into an even closer position to Dirk as he squeezed your hand affectionately. His pure enthusiasm made frowns outright impossible. You chuckled, the joy vibrating through you coming out. Your first time at the boardwalk was an experience. It was such a huge trip. Mm. But both of your parents had and siblings had been there, but separated into two groups. For better and for worse, you went all across the ferry boards uh, currently under your feet. Meanwhile, the adults hadn't had their heels on the floor. They were fit into pedals. The shook, the shock you felt learning they'd gone off on bikes without a care. The world was as fresh as ever in your mind, and that wasn't all that lingered within you. Important decisions about face painting Nico being carried around like a sack of potatoes, snacks on the bench as the sun set, and a Ferris wheel. Viewing it not only in hindsight but as an adult made the moments even more significant. They were precious you'd ever experienced. Your first time here again, or what it was like to be 13 when the world was only beginning to open up wide. Even so, your thoughts weren't completely tangled in rows.
A fuzzy blanket of nostalgia couldn't make you forget how it almost wasn't a nice time. How it only got to stay good because one person cared enough to uh, make certain it did. How Derek Soros cared more for others than himself. That remained starkly true about him more than a decade later. For the brief time you'd been in the area, he gladly let Nicholas direct the activity multiple times and did his best not to let George feel left out. Along with looking out for his own family, he never let that supersede your comfort or wants. And he accommodated your sister too, after he put in all the effort to help her come see everyone. Dirk even went against all his good boy standards and snuck into an apartment complex pool for the sake of the group. You were sure he had fun being part of the misadventures, but most of the times he's been a passenger in the exploits, despite having to be the person who drove everyone else. That answered Derek's question for you. My only contribution is you choose. I feel like you should have a boardwalk makeup day where you got to do whatever you want. After how many outings we've let other people have their way. Derek's grin uh, collapsed, open crease formed in his brows. He was stunned and very touched, while the appreciation was unmistakable. He hesitated to accept such an offer. You don't have to do that. It's your vacation, and you've missed out on stuff too. You weren't surprised by that response, but it didn't play like a rejection. He only needed some extra encouragement, like a kid who thought it was bad to open a present before his birthday, even if he got permission from the giver. Maybe a little, but never because of you. Derek, you're not taking me for granted. You're my boyfriend. It's only fair that I get to be the one who puts you first sometimes. I content temporarily failed him. Derek watched his own foot scuff at the spot where one slab of wood met another. A downturned face didn't hide the wide smile across it. Thanks, Chippy. It's my pleasure. Gradually, his normal confidence returned. It wasn't a mistake. He wasn't doing something wrong. He could simply enjoy himself, and he would. Okay, then. If you're positive, sure. I want to get our faces painted. We've got to start the day right. I had a feeling you might say that. Whew. Woo. Derek thrust his face hand ahead of you, and it wasn't entirely the right direction of the face painting stall because you weren't facing that way, but you got the idea. I'm gonna get whatever I want. It could be anything. The sky's the limit. The cheer in his voice had a shimmer in his eyes was better than any thrill the boatlight could have offered. You almost had to guilty feel guilty yourself. He'd done he done you another favor by allowing you to be the one who did him a favor. That tended to be the way it went. You weren't complaining about that particular dynamic. Hey, you getting one? Of course. Cool. With no time to lose and a plan in mind, you and Derek went to the old face painting stand with the new artist. Peter, welcome. I've got a free spot if you see something you like. The painter was far less glamorous than Xavier, but no less friendly or worse at their job. If the new example photos were to be believed, they had their own flair in the strokes and choice of color. You ushered Derek into the seat. It was his day, and for once he was going to go first. After you. He apparently obliged, started ahead, and hopped up onto the raised chair. Derek had no embarrassment over being an adult at a face painting stall. It was nice to see. Oh, excellent. What can I get you? Derek took a polite glance at offered styles and display, though didn't need any time to decide. How about a shooting star? Good choice. The artist wasn't simply being polite. Well, they might have been, but shoulda if they were. Derek beamed like a star himself. Nothing could have fit better. Taking it from point to point before attaching a long tail, soon Derek's cheek was immortalized with a bright star streaking across his face. But they hadn't finished yet. The stall had opened its production value since you were last there. The artist added a finishing touch of glitter to the centerpiece and painted sparkles over the basic tail. That's cool. Whoa. It was a pleasant surprise for Derek as well. He'd been sure of what he was getting and ended up with more. Hopefully that would be a pattern of things to come. Thank you. Derek shook shook the hand of the artisan vigorously before bounding up out of the chair to show you. Check it out. Not bad, huh? Yeah, it's cool. Honestly, I always thought the shooting star was the coolest. It was the most going out of any of the options, but it's not exactly Nico's style. I think it's cool too. It's a perfect fit. Yeah, it's a perfect fit. He let out a tiny laugh while only barely stopping himself from scratching his freshly painted cheek. You're sweet, thanks. But he twisted on his heels and took 2 steps backwards. The front of the stall was clear, and Derek was in place to keep watch. Your turn. Cool. You walked under the large umbrella that covered the stall and settled into the paint splattered seat. Hello, what can I get you? It was a difficult question, but after some serious soul searching, you said, Let's get a rainbow. Another wonderful selection. For the second time, at least, with you and Derek, it might have been their dozenth for the day. The painter put their talent into action. You've forgotten how trickly bristles felt being drawn over your skin. You wondered how you managed to stay still for this in the past, or how even younger kids did it. It might be because the process wasn't too long. You were in expert hands while you'd been distracted by a usual sensation they had finished. Your rainbow was topped off with a dash of glitter, and the piece was complete. You smiled into the mirror. The artist ingled at you. Thank you. It's my pleasure. When you rejoined Derek outside of the stall, he admired the charming composition. It got a thumbs up from him. A classic. You paid the artists for their work, just you, since you were covering Derek, and he certainly wasn't paying for you. And then it was back to the thick of the park. Derek was on his way, and you were relieved to have him directing the course without a reminder to do so. Since we're here, we've got to ride the roller coaster. Then what are we waiting for? Come on. All right. Mutual thrill propelled you through the crowd, flying past the souvenir shops and food stands so fast you could imagine yourself already on the coaster. The line was wrapped around the whole base of the coaster, but neither of you intended to give up. You could be patient for your reward. Though patient didn't mean calm. Dirk restlessly bounced on from heel to toe and repeatedly clasped and unclasped his hands, sometimes shaking his finger out. His behavior was more appropriate for someone who about to jump into a big game they'd been training all their life for. But Derek had already gone through that kind of experience for real, so it was fitting for him. The thick row of people filled the forward at a graceful pace. Derek shot out eager chatter. Then, when he got to move, he held on to his high spirits the whole while, and eventually you reach the boarding platform. Finally, the suspense of waiting to be on the ride was replaced with anticipation of the drop. You'd gotten a middle spot in the coaster, though with a bias towards the front. It was good with Derek, and that was good with you. Together, you piled in for the ride and closed the safety bar over your laps. A check of all cars was performed as usual, and when the clear was given, the wheels cranked ahead. It pulled higher and higher to the peak of the man-made wood mountain until, without warning, the coaster careened over the side. Derek hollered loud enough to hear over the shouts over everyone else, plus the clattering car, and the teeth clattering in your head. You seemed to twist and turns, being jolted around like you were tossed into a tumble dryer. And then it was over. You jerked forward when the car's speed decreased significantly at the last leg. Once the car cranked into a crawl and rolled into station, you headed across to the exit on the other side, making sure not to leave anything behind. All the fellow riders went down the path in a group. Derek was out of breath, buzzing with energy. You were in a similar state. After ruffling his already completely tousled hair, Derek sighed happily. That was great. Yeah. You began to drift over the boards again, heading nowhere but encouraged forward to tried park goers coming through. You couldn't remember when it happened, but your and Derek's hands had found each other again. Your arms swing back and forth between you. He grinned over at you as sweet as a mouthful of cotton candy. What do you want to do next? Wait, no, what do I want to do next, right? You still get to pick. Derek and you joined in with laughter filling the park. Force of habit. Don't worry, I can keep reminding you. It's Derek's day. Derek's day, huh? I like the sound of that. He cast his focus up into the sky. With his face free hand, Derek traced the edges of his jaw using his thumb and pointer finger. It reminded you of Mr. Suarez would stroke his beard thoroughly and repeatedly. Derek was missing the facial hair, but the effect was the same. What does Derek Suarez want to do? We've hit the roller coaster and face paint stall. I'm not huge on the refreshments here, honestly. They've got bikes and the scooters, but you can do that almost anywhere. On top of that, time's running out before we got to leave, so up next is the Ferris wheel. We've got to do that before we go. Good idea. It'd be a big missed opportunity to leave without riding it. Alright, let's go. Derek glanced around to get the lay of the land. You'd wandered far from the roller coaster and entirely lost touch with where you stood in the park. But your new target, the tallest structure for miles around, there was no trouble in determining a path towards it. Together you made another crossing of the boardwalk. The line for the Ferris wheel wasn't as jam-packed as the first ride you'd stopped at. Far more guests could fit a time, and it was simply less of a draw to the high energy guests attending the park. You couldn't get on immediately, but the wait wouldn't take long. Derek's attitude standing there was in stark contrast to how he behaved on the creeping crawl to the coaster. His feet were firm on the ground. A ride attendee got to the door for both of you. That didn't mean you couldn't add your own touch of quarterlessness. Please, you first. How kind. He promptly climbed and you carefully got up to 2 steps into the car after. Derek sat on the right bench, same side he picked the last time you were there. You sat on the bench next to Derek. Yeah, let's sit together. Derek squeezed his shoulder and up around the sides of your face in a childlike excitement and welcomed you to the seat with a grin. He put out an okay sign for the attendant. Then the employee crossed the tiny elevated room. You were fully encased inside. It muffled the uh, re, raucousness so much you could believe the entire world had suddenly faded away. Glancing out of the window, you showed that all was well. The car rocked forward, and you watched as the ground grew further away. A warm hand enveloped yours, and it was nice. You and Derek were completely unreachable there for the duration of the ride. It was only you and him. That was freeing in a way. Derek seemed to think so too, because it got him to talk without reservation. I know we didn't get to do all that much here. We're finishing up. The sun hasn't even started to set. But even still, this has been the best trip to the boardwalk I've had in years. He poked up a smile, a small chunk of glitter on his cheek that cobbled together and stuck out from the rest. I hope you know I really appreciate it. You're always looking out for me. You deserve to have someone spoil you. Yeah, you deserve to have someone spoil you. The Ferris wheel continued to go round on a set, unchanging path, always forward, never back, even in the brightness of a summer day. A shuttle fell over Derek's face. Well, you succeeded in making me happy. Is it alright to ask if you had fun? You're a very sweet man. You're better. His gaze dropped. His voice was low, heavy with the height of emotional strain. Thanks to you, I got to feel like I did when I was a kid for a little while. It means a lot. It's what I've been chasing since I got here. The big park, all dark and empty. Derek's painted confession. The scene all flashed through your mind. His words rung out. How he felt he'd lost so much and could never get it back. Maybe that wasn't entirely true after all. The soft smile on his face was exactly the same as the boy you once knew. Hey, remember that time you stayed over at my place and we camped out in the living room? We talked about the future and our dreams. The Father's Day thing might have been more of a bombshell, but I haven't forgotten the rest of that adventure. Yeah, same. We had so much grand plans a decade ago. Um, how we were here, and I have no idea what I am doing. Derek pressed himself into a heavy metal wall behind the seat and slumped down it. I bet my 13-year-old self would have demanded a refund if he called a psychic and they told him what direction his life was going to go in and that it would still lead to getting together with you. That's obviously made up. Come on, Derek. Everyone knows you're too polite to ask for your money back. You're right. But I wouldn't have thought about it. I'd made a great speech in my head about how it's only fair not to have to pay for a reading like that. Derek's voice faded out, replaced by the sound of his fingers tapping against the seat, one after another. They played a rapid beat like the fluttering of a fluttering, fluttering of a heart. Sucks that there's no way to actually know what's going to happen in the future, huh? At least today was fun. A good break from having to be grown ups. It was a good day. You had to appreciate the optimism. Nothing could last forever, and you had a great run. He grinned, staring at you head on. Hey, you should come by again sometime, whether you want to or can. Anyway, you mean it? Definitely. It's my apartment. I'm an adult, and I can say that Chippy Prince is allowed to visit all the time. He declared it proudly with a fox air of heightlessness. If his pitch had been a little higher, the statement would have been fairly accurate imitation of Liz. It was all more than a little silly, but the smile growing on your face stopped short of becoming full. Derek's bold-faced confidence was only pretend. Regret remained hidden behind every smile. I'm not going to be too busy for you anymore. I figured out what my actual priorities are way later than I should have, but I did. Part of that is being someone you can actually count on again. So my door is always open. Since you've been here, I finally started to see a future I want to have. I've thought about it more and more, and it keeps coming back to the same thing. I don't want to be this far away from you. That was all along the entire time. You've been staying with him, and even before you actually arrived. Those were the words Derek had been holding back. He didn't restrain them any longer. I was hoping to be closer to you when I lived in the next city over. Being neighbors was my dream. I wasn't totally kidding about that. But I wasted all the years we had being at a manageable travel distance from each other. I pushed off facing you for real until I reached a perpetually moving goalpost. I regret that. I still do. I don't know if I'll ever stop pissing me off. Derek caught that his long-held anger began to carry him. He squeezed his eyes shut and forced a shakily through stunning exhaled out. That's not what matters, though. I can't redo the past. I've got to focus on what I can do, and that. And what is that? I could move, and I could live next to you now. Yes, do that. Move in with us, or I'll move in with you. Whatever works. The clawing darkness of the past faded under the shining hope of a better tomorrow. Why not, right? It's not as if I'd be canceling any amazing plans I gave up. Anything before you got here. So this would be the best time for it. I don't have to renew my lease, and the career ideas I do have could come with me. I can start them somewhere else. Or I know you're next to Cove, but you've been wanting to come back to this area for more than a vacation. I could keep the apartment and you could move in. Yes, I will do that. I can do that. I can move in with you. Maybe he'd want to move closer too, but I'd be up for whatever you are. We could be there for each other day by day. For the first time, Derek had expressed the whole honest truth of what he wanted for his life, for himself. It wasn't about his family, or only for your sake. But even then, Derek couldn't help compromising his preferences. He doubted the appeal of his hopes to anyone other than himself. I get if you think it'd be overkill, or you're still worried about how it work out. It wouldn't have to be forever. He winked cheekily and familiar. I'm not asking you to marry me again. Maybe it be last for only 1 year, then we'd have new plans. I'm gonna need time to figure out the long term either way. So, that's it. Derek's new plan. What do you think? I'm gonna go with this one here. Would you really be alright for me to live with you? That was almost too good to be true. You could be with Derek in a great place right by your family and friends. You'd hoped for it yourself, and for a moment of wondered why something that perfect hadn't come up before. And the next instant you remembered why. Neither of you pictured the other feeling the same way. You imagined Derek was pursuing his sports dreams and never would have interpreted that. He saw himself as unworthy of others' acceptance until an abstract level of success was uh, attained. But those days were behind both of you. The answer you gave and the dazzling smile it gave Derek was proof of it. Really? You nodded with complete resolve. There wasn't any need for doubt. Really? Woo! His arms shot up as he worked a very vigorous cheer. Unfortunately, the Ferris wheel car wasn't built for that kind of celebration. His fist cracked directly against the metal ceiling of the cabin. Ack. But he laughed heartily, shaking off his smart, smarting knuckles. Nothing was going to bring him down. He started to ramble off, moving logistics and preparing preparations preparations that needed to be made. Excuse me. Informing the landlord that I'd be that be another occupant was paramount, but he was positive she wouldn't mind, and you'd be able to keep that key he'd given you from the start, of course. It was dry, grown up responsibility stuff, yet it sparkled more excitement in you than any amusement park could have. Derek was able to rein in the frenzied bubble, babbling long enough to extend a hand towards you instantly. You understood what he meant by that. The place, the time of day, the terms, so much of the situation was entirely different from the first time Derek had made you an offer, but the feelings behind it remained the same. An earnest desire to not be separated. You took hold of one another securely and shook. It's a deal. Yeah, deal. Wow. He slowly let you go before staring down at his hand while wide-eyed disbelief as if it wasn't his. But it was. Derek had taken his own life to hand into that hand of his. You believed he wouldn't lose hold of it ever again. I actually did it. His scuffed fingers curled into a fist, then he lifted his intense green eyes to your face. Derek had grown and held himself back. He'd changed and he'd remained himself. He'd developed into an adult he shouldn't be proud of, and he was still the boy you met 10 years ago. It was all true at once, and it made you happier than you could say. I'm feeling better about the future already. Thanks, Chippy. Derek gained unique confidence. He trusted his own decisions now that they were made to seek the best instead of to hide from the worst. Nothing in the world was more heartening than that. I am too, Derek. Derek satisfyingly stretched out his arms in front of him. He leaned. He learned his. He learned his lesson about moving them higher. Well, I might not know what I'm doing with my own life, but I've at least got a nice apartment in a great location with a balcony and my favorite people all around. I'll take that as a win. You shook with a swaying of your personal cabin and of laughter too. Derek snickered himself, but clinging to a piece of the prior seriousness. It is relief, though. Feeling good about sticking around here is more process than I had a few days ago. And 23 is not that old. There's plenty of time left to work on it. I absolutely agree. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Then I know I've got it right if you think it's smart. For the first time in his waking hours, Derek was completely at peace with himself. I'm gonna give him a kiss. You kissed his lips. You pressed a sweet, feather-like kiss on the corner of his soft mouth. Derek's breath flickered your face when he snorted. The kiss had tickled him literally and mythologically, whatever. Still, he kept you close to him, wrapping a heavy arm around your shoulders. Derek was there for with with you and with him. For that, you were grateful. Hey, Chippy. His voice was a gentle whisper. It was as if you were laying on the couch, half asleep and lost in nothing more than a dream. Yeah? Does this count as our second date? Yeah, I think so. Yes. He smooched your cheek, Snickers slipping through his lips. I'd say we're doing pretty good at the relationship thing. Me too, Derek. Another good idea to add to the list. Your spirits had flown straight to the moon like a pair of shooting stars, though physically you were still in the gentle drifting cabin and its position was on the decline. The ride came to an end. You were ready for that and whatever else you'd inevitably, inevitably face. You had a teammate at your side and to tackle life's challenges with. When your cabin arrived at the bottom, you took your turn to dismount. The same attendant gestured towards the tall frame exit gate and thanked you for coming. Doing as instructed, you left the Ferris wheel behind you. Derek took wide, peppy steps, cleared the way for the next passengers to get through. Oh, ooh, then he abruptly came to a complete halt. What time is it again? I completely forgot that was probably going to have to be our last stop. He was glancing all around as he'd be able to spot a clock floating in the air with enough persistence. Eventually, he recalled he owned a cell phone. You discreetly chuckled while he dug it out of his sweatpants pocket. Yep, damn. We've got to go. Might be pushing it a little already. You've got people to see. Derek shoved his phone back into its place with T's side. Trent's side. The second I have fun being responsible goes out the window. I'm sorry. Don't worry, it's not too late, and I wouldn't have missed this. Plus, me leaving is only temporary now, thanks to you. Exactly. You've got to get to see the bros, mom and dad, and your parents whenever you want soon. Let's head out. Together you bounce across the boardwalk one last time. The energy still filling the area was thrilling, and the rush made it easier to leave it behind. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop it there. It's been a long recording already, and I do need to stop. So we're going to go to save, and save it right there. So Thanks again for watching on my YouTube channel. Don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button for those of you who haven't subscribed already. And don't forget to check out my Patreon account, and please become a Patreon contributing member. All the funds that go in, all your membership funds that go in there, their monthly funds, they go directly to charity. I don't see a penny of it. It just goes directly to charity that I choose from. And some worthy charities, of course. And I do thank you again for watching, and I will come back to this again soon. So I will see you guys later.